Men, listen carefully. A cheating woman will never come right out and admit what she's doing, but her words will betray her every single time. The phrases she uses, the way she deflects, the subtle manipulations in her language, they all reveal the truth she's desperately trying to hide. Today, I'm exposing the 8 most common phrases that slip from her lips without her realizing they're confession statements. These aren't just random observations. These are patterns that repeat themselves in relationships across the world, verified by countless men who've walked this painful path before you. Before we dive deep into this crucial information, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment if you've ever heard one of these phrases yourself. Your experiences matter, and they help other men recognize these warning signs before they find themselves in the same devastating situation. Phrase 1, we're just friends. On the surface, this sounds innocent enough. Friends are normal, right? But here's what you need to understand. When a woman is cheating, she'll overuse this phrase like a shield. She'll repeat it obsessively, almost trying to convince herself as much as you. Men, if you've heard this line more than once about the same person, pay close attention. Notice how she says it. Does she get defensive? Does she volunteer this information without you even asking? Does her voice change when she mentions his name? Does she avoid eye contact when saying it? That's your first red flag waving right in front of you. The truth is, when someone repeatedly tells you something is just friendship, they're usually trying to minimize something that's already crossed boundaries. Real friends don't require constant reassurance that the friendship is innocent. Think about your own friendships. Do you feel the need to constantly remind your partner that your buddy from work is just a friend? Of course not. Watch for the overcompensation. She might start emphasizing how unattractive she finds him, or how he's not her type, or how she could never see him that way. These unsolicited disclaimers are her subconscious attempt to throw you off the scent. The lady doth protest too much, as Shakespeare would say. Also pay attention to the context. If she's spending increasing amounts of time with this friend, texting him late at night, getting secretive about their interactions, or suddenly developing inside jokes you're not part of, then the just friends label becomes meaningless. Actions speak louder than labels. Notice when she brings him up in conversation. Does his name slip out naturally, or does she seem to catch herself mentioning him? Does she tell stories about him, and then quickly add, "But we're just friends," as an afterthought? These verbal slip-ups reveal that he's occupying more mental space than a casual friend should. The frequency of this phrase is crucial. Once or twice might be normal reassurance, but if you're hearing it weekly or even daily, she's trying to convince herself as much as you. She knows the relationship has crossed boundaries, and she's using this phrase as a psychological safety blanket. Phrase 2, you're overthinking it. This phrase is psychological manipulation disguised as reassurance. When she says, you're overthinking it, she's not trying to comfort you. She's trying to shut down your instincts. She wants you to stop asking questions, stop noticing patterns, stop trusting your gut. Your intuition exists for a reason, men. You've been conditioned by society to ignore your instincts about relationships, but your subconscious picks up on inconsistencies that your logical mind might miss. When she dismisses your concerns with this phrase, she's essentially gaslighting you into doubting yourself. If she says this often, it's not reassurance, it's deflection. She's training you to stop investigating, to stop caring, to become compliant. She wants you to accept her word without question, even when her actions don't match her words. Think about it logically. If your concerns were truly baseless, wouldn't she want to address them directly? Wouldn't she provide specific reassurance or evidence to put your mind at ease? Instead, she's telling you that your thought process itself is flawed. That's manipulation 101. The phrase also creates a double bind. If you continue to express concerns after she's told you you're overthinking, then you become the paranoid or controlling boyfriend. She set up a scenario where questioning her behavior makes you the problem, not her suspicious actions. Pay attention to what she doesn't say when she uses this phrase. She doesn't explain her behavior, provide reassurance, or offer transparency. She just dismisses your concerns and makes you feel foolish for having them. Watch her body language when she says this. Does she seem frustrated that you're asking questions? Does she roll her eyes or sigh dramatically? These nonverbal cues reveal her true feelings about your legitimate concerns. The timing of this phrase is also telling. Does it come up every time you notice something suspicious? Does she use it to end conversations about your relationship? She's essentially training you to stop bringing up anything that makes her uncomfortable. Phrase 3, I need some space. Sometimes this phrase is genuine. Relationships do require breathing room to remain healthy. But more often than not, when a cheating woman asks for space, she's already giving that space to someone else. Don't ignore this one. It's a warning. The space she's requesting isn't to work on herself or the relationship. It's to create opportunities for her other relationship to develop without your interference. She needs time to explore this new connection without having to manage your emotions or explain her whereabouts. Watch the timing carefully. Does she ask for space right after being secretive with her phone? Does she need space during specific times or days? Does the request come after you've been asking too many questions? Does it coincide with changes in her routine or appearance? These patterns reveal the real purpose behind her request. She's not pulling away from relationships in general. She's pulling away from you specifically. Notice if she's still active on social media, still going out with friends, still maintaining her normal activities. The space isn't about isolation or self-reflection. It's about creating room for someone else. Also observe her demeanor when asking for space. Is she sad and conflicted, or does she seem relieved? A woman who genuinely needs space to work on relationship issues will be torn about it. A woman who needs space to cheat will seem almost excited about the prospect of freedom. The request often comes with vague timelines and unclear boundaries. She won't specify what kind of space she needs or how long it will take because she doesn't actually know. She's making it up as she goes, buying time to see where this other relationship leads. Pay attention to what happens during this space. Does she actually use it for self-improvement or reflection? Or does she become more secretive, more distant and less available? Real space for relationship growth involves communication about the process. Space for cheating involves radio silence and mystery. Notice if the request for space comes with rules that only apply to you. She needs space from your calls and texts, but she's still active with everyone else. She can't spend time with you, but she has time for her friends, family, and suspiciously, that one particular friend. Phrase 4, he understands me better. This is perhaps the most devastating phrase on this list because it's a direct comparison, and you're losing. When she says another man understands her better than you do, she's announcing that emotional cheating is already in full swing. Men, if she slips and says this, it speaks louder than any physical action. Emotional infidelity often runs deeper than physical cheating because it involves her heart, her thoughts, her deepest feelings. She's essentially telling you that she's found her emotional partner, and it's not you. This phrase reveals that she's been confiding in him, sharing intimate thoughts with him, and building the kind of connection that should exist between partners. She's compared notes between you two, and in her mind, he's winning. That's why the statement is so dangerous. It shows she's already mentally checking out. Pay attention to the context in which this comes up. Often, it emerges during arguments or discussions about your relationship. She's using him as a weapon against you, essentially saying, "Look what I could have instead." That's emotional blackmail disguised as a casual observation. The phrase also reveals that she's discussing your relationship problems with him. She's seeking comfort, advice, and emotional support from another man instead of working through issues with you. That's a fundamental betrayal of relationship boundaries. Notice how she talks about his understanding. What exactly does he understand that you don't? Usually, it's not actually about understanding, it's about validation. He tells her what she wants to hear while you challenge her or hold her accountable. He's the yes man to your realist. Watch for the comparison trap. She might start pointing out all the ways he's different from you, more attentive, more romantic, more supportive. She's building a case for why he's better, and once that mental framework is established, justifying her cheating becomes much easier. The phrase often comes with specific examples. He actually listens when I talk about work, or he remembers the things that are important to me. These comparisons aren't accidental. She's been mentally cataloguing your failures and his strengths. Phrase 5, it didn't mean anything. Here's a minimizing phrase that cheating women use to downplay their actions after they've been caught or confronted. The problem with this statement is that if it truly didn't mean anything, why did she risk everything to do it? If she has to say this, it already meant something. People don't jeopardize their relationships, their integrity, and their partner's trust over meaningless encounters. This phrase is her attempt to control the damage while avoiding full accountability. She's hoping that by minimizing the significance of her actions, you'll minimize your reaction. She wants you to accept that cheating can be meaningless, which makes it easier for her to justify doing it again. It's a psychological tactic to reduce the consequences of her choices. But let's examine this logically. If it didn't mean anything, why did she choose to do it instead of the thousands of other meaningless things she could have done? Why did she choose this particular meaningless action that happens to violate your relationship boundaries? The phrase also ignores the impact on you. Even if her actions were meaningless to her, they're not meaningless to you. Your pain, your broken trust, your shattered sense of security, none of that is meaningless. She's asking you to prioritize her intentions over your experience. Watch for variations of this phrase. It was just physical. It was a mistake. It just happened. They're all designed to minimize her agency and responsibility. She wants to frame cheating as something that happened to her rather than something she actively chose to do. Notice how she defines meaning. To her, it might mean she doesn't love him or plan to leave you for him. But meaning can also include the excitement of doing something forbidden, the validation of being desired by someone new, or the thrill of getting away with deception. The phrase often comes bundled with other minimizing language. She'll describe the encounter in the least significant terms possible. It was just this, only that, nothing more than something else. This linguistic minimization is designed to make you feel foolish for being upset about something so small. Phrase 6, you don't trust me. This is a classic deflection tactic that shifts the blame from her actions to your reactions. Instead of answering your legitimate concerns or questions, she throws the focus back onto you and makes you the problem. That's not an answer, it's a defense mechanism. She's avoiding accountability by making you feel guilty for having reasonable doubts. This phrase is designed to make you apologize for being suspicious, instead of her explaining why she's acting suspiciously. A woman with nothing to hide doesn't get offended by questions about her behavior. She answers them honestly, provides reassurance, and works to rebuild trust. But a cheating woman will always try to make you feel bad for not trusting her, even when she's giving you every reason not to. The phrase also creates a false dilemma. She's presenting trust as an all-or-nothing proposition. Either you trust her completely and ask no questions, or you don't trust her at all and are therefore a bad partner. That's not how healthy relationships work. Real trust is built on transparency and consistency. It's not blind faith. It's earned confidence based on reliable behavior. When she demands trust without providing the transparency that builds it, she's asking for something she hasn't earned. Notice that she never follows up this question with actions that would rebuild trust. She doesn't offer to be more transparent, to answer your questions, or to change the behaviors that concern you. She just wants you to stop asking questions and accept her word as gospel. The phrase often comes with emotional manipulation. She might act hurt, disappointed, or even angry that you would question her. She's using your love for her against you, making you feel like a bad partner for having normal relationship concerns. Watch for the history revision that often follows this phrase. She might bring up times when you were wrong to be suspicious, or point to past examples of your paranoia. She's building a case that your concerns are always baseless, even when current evidence suggests otherwise. Phrase 7, I was just busy. Being busy is a legitimate reason for delayed responses or missed calls. Once, maybe twice. But when I was just busy becomes her standard explanation for everything, you're looking at a pattern of deception. Men, busyness is the oldest cover story in the book. It's convenient because it's believable and hard to verify. She can always claim she was busy with work, friends, family, or a dozen other things that sound reasonable on the surface. But pay attention to the details. Is she busy at the same times consistently? Does her busyness coincide with her being unreachable? Does she get defensive when you ask what she was busy with? Does her busy schedule somehow never interfere with things she wants to do? These are the signs that her busyness is really just her making time for someone else. She's not actually too busy to text you back. She's too busy texting someone else. She's not too busy to call you. She's on a call with him. Watch for inconsistencies in her busy schedule. She might claim she was swamped at work, but then post on social media during that same time. She might say she was too busy to respond to your text, but was somehow available when her girlfriends needed her. Also notice if her definition of busy has changed over time. Tasks that used to take her an hour now take all day. Errands that used to be quick now consume entire afternoons. Her schedule has mysteriously become packed with activities that can't be verified or interrupted. The vagueness is intentional. When you ask what she was busy with, does she give specific details or vague generalities? I was busy at work tells you nothing. I had back-to-back meetings with the Johnson account and then had to prepare the quarterly report tells you everything. Phrase 8, why do you always assume the worst? This is a classic guilty reaction when she feels cornered by your questions or observations. She's not addressing your concerns. She's attacking your character and making you seem paranoid or unreasonable. When this comes out of her mouth, it's not about your assumptions. It's about her actions. She's projecting her guilt onto you and trying to make you feel bad for noticing inconsistencies in her behavior. A faithful woman doesn't need to ask this question because her actions consistently align with her words. She understands that trust is built through transparency, not through making her partner feel guilty for having normal concerns about suspicious behavior. The phrase also contains a logical fallacy. She's implying that you always assume the worst, which is probably not true. You're likely just noticing patterns and expressing legitimate concerns. But by framing it as always, assuming the worst, she makes you sound unreasonable and pessimistic. Notice that she doesn't actually address your specific concern. She doesn't explain the behavior that worried you or provide reassurance about her actions. Instead, she attacks your character and your thought patterns. That's deflection, pure and simple. The phrase also sets up future manipulation. Once she's labeled you as someone who always assumes the worst, she can dismiss any future concerns with reference to this character flaw she's assigned to you. You're not observing suspicious behavior, you're just being negative again. Watch how she defines the worst. To her, the worst might mean you're accusing her of cheating, but to you, you might just be asking for clarification about her behavior. She's inflating your reasonable questions into unreasonable accusations.